That nice, beautiful music for the intro. Welcome back, everybody, to C3 Live. Happy Wednesday. How you guys doing? Hope everybody is feeling good on this Wednesday. It is Wednesday, right? Yeah, quarantine, guys. The days just seem to go by. Coming back at you, another version of C3 Live, and I hope you enjoyed that little video music intro because that's the last time you're going to see it. Because next time, you guys know me, I'm going to work on a custom C3 intro video there to lead us in to kind of get us started. I'm going to start working on some more of the graphics as I'm kind of getting used to this thing, but I am excited to kick off this podcast with you guys tonight. Hope you got your drink. Like I said, if you saw the live event, drink of the night is just straight Whistle Pig. And I'm gonna be honest because I was lazy. And then this morning when I thought about it, I was like, I don't really know what cocktail I want to make. It's been a while since I had some Whistle Pig. So Whistle Pig whiskey, straight on the rock. Not straight, but on the rock. And that's it. So you know how we like to start off with our toast. So everybody out there, toast. As we wind down on this Wednesday evening, as we officially in December 2nd, right? And we start to kick off like the holiday season. It's kind of fully in effect now. Once again, just kind of taking time to realize, man, this year's been crazy. This year has definitely been crazy. We've seen a lot of craziness this year, but now's the time to just really reflect. Be thankful for the things that we do have, connect with the loved ones that we have, and yeah, just really get ready to celebrate this holiday season together as much as we can. Or virtually, it's all good to do virtually, like right here, hanging out with me. No, I will not be doing a holiday version of C3. I don't even actually know when Christmas is. I don't know what date it's on, but I can tell you I will not be going live on that day. I say that now and then watch me turn around and do it. This is like something I would do. So getting into it tonight, we got a couple of things that I'm excited to get to and start talking about. But before we do that, you guys know I've got to give props to businesses out there that are doing their thing. And as part of that, we continue to grow both the network and the podcast. We like to give some shine time to some local companies. So, I don't have any videos because I was lazy, guys, but Brownsville Watch Company, the last couple of episodes, you guys know I've been talking about them. Absolutely love this watch company. You got to check them out. They've got pre-orders right now for women's watches. So they are launching their women's line. So check it out. There's the website right there, brownsvillewatchco.com. Go check them out. If you're looking for that, hey, a nice, classy gift, for the significant other, the missus, or your mom, or your sister, your niece, whatever it is, and they're into watches, please check out Brownsville Watch Company. Pre-orders for the women's watches, but overall, really get watches. Really love it. Like I said, I fell in love when I met the owners early this year. Just fell in love with these watches. Love everything about it. One of my favorite watches, actually my favorite watch designer. So I am quickly adding to my collection and making sure that it's nothing but Brownsville Watch Company because I love the support. So guys, check them out, Brownsville Watch Company. Let them know David Lee and the C3 podcast sent you. There you go. Check that out. So as we kind of get into it after our opening toast, what I want to talk about today, a couple of things that's going on kind of in the news. So the big one I'm going to save, right? But to kind of give you the headline, Nasdaq wants more diverse corporate boards and is asking the SEC for help. And we're going to dig into that. You guys know I love to talk about this diversity and inclusion topic. I absolutely love it. But I'm going to save that for last. That's going to be our coup de resistance, if I use that right. Probably didn't, but I felt like I wanted to say it and use my little French accent there, and I did. That's not racist. I promise it's not. I love France. I love French. It's been a while since I've studied it. I've been trying to get on the Babbel and get my French game back up, and eventually I will. So, but hopping into some other headlines that were going on, I really want to talk about this API security. I was on DZone, just kind of browsing around as one does, reading some articles as to what's going on, and I'm going to give you guys the link to the DZone article. And if you just go to dzone.com, obviously it's, you guys can't copy and paste these links. And I'll also put them in the descriptions for the YouTube videos for the replays when you guys check this out. So check the description link to grab these. But when I came across this article, it was just fascinating to say the least. As far as, just kind of what's going on in the world of API security. And so for me, this is kind of like my main focus. This is the area that I live in now. I breathe this every day around how to help organizations better protect and govern their APIs. It's my day job. But as I was looking at this, right, it's really become a big thing. And so you read the article, it just talks about a couple of vulnerabilities that were released with some recent APIs. One was for, excuse me, Whistle Pig coming back. So one was for vulnerability with AWS resource-based policy APIs. Another one on Tesla backup gateway APIs. And then, of course, one on Twitter fleets, right? Because, Twitter fleets like recently just launched within the last week. And of course, there's an API vulnerability. And it just kind of goes back to this thing, guys, that we have right now in the industry is that, look, the way we build applications, that they're API first. That's exactly how we want to build applications, API first. And, for those of us that have been around, and I put this on a LinkedIn post earlier today, like those of us who are seasoned in this industry, right? So we've been around, we've earned the gray in the beard, the gray in the hair. We are finally living in the age that we thought we would, like 10 or 15 years ago when SOA first became a thing, right? The whole service-oriented architecture where everything just would be services, and you would build these services to interact with other services, and you can focus your service on what you want it to do, and then it would call out to these other things, right? Sounds very familiar to microservice architecture. If you're new to the tech world and just not necessarily identity, but just overall in tech, you realize that nothing is original. We just repeat the same ideas like every 10 or 15 years. Technology just gets better and we're able to do some things. I'll be fair. Every now and then we do have some innovative stuff that comes in, but for the most part, a lot of the things we think about, a lot of these architectures that we give new slogans to and new words to are things that we've been thinking about and doing in this industry for a while. But hopping off that tangent and back to my point, right? So we live in this utopia that we dreamed of back then, where we have these applications that could just talk out to other applications and get these services, and it's great. From a developer standpoint, you can go and focus on building your application, build out an API, and then you can, if you want to get access to some data, like you're building a finance app, which is like, hey, I want to go understand, some statistics on financial data and a certain geographic. Like there's data sets and APIs out there that you can go and access to it, and it's awesome. It allows us to build some really robust apps, but in doing so, right, and flipping how we do this and build these applications to be data centric first and shareable first with these APIs, and the speed at which we build applications, what we see is a lot of the times that we don't really think about how all these APIs are going to be accessed, because it's going to be open, right? We build these specifically so somebody can call the APIs and get the data that somebody needs, right? And so we build them in the case that somebody's going to use this the way I'm intending, meaning I'm going to build this because somebody wants to query here and get this information, and we don't really think about other ways that could be used, and we don't think about the authorization that needs to be happen. Like, well, if this person hits it and goes through there, then it's okay. But what if a service calls it? What if it's the third or fourth call in a chain of different services calls it, things of that nature? How open is it when it is open and somebody hits it? Where are they authenticating from? What are they authorized to do? Do I want, maybe once they're authenticated, I want them to be able to get back this data, but if they're unauthenticated, maybe I want to change the way the data is, right? And so those nuances are what's hitting us, and why we see these kind of vulnerabilities that pop up. And as we share more and more data, we have the risk of it being exposed. So API security is really this. I really want this to be top of mind. I will say, in the circles that I was in before, kind of taking on my recent new position, it was talked about, but it was like fourth or fifth down on the list. And I really think now it needs to be, at least second or third on the list of how you're getting ready to roll something out, how you're getting ready to deploy these applications. What are you doing around how you're securing your APIs? Because we're going to see this, constantly. And so I stumbled across this link, this API Security Weekly. This is issue number 111. So clearly this is a thing, right? The fact that there's an API Security Weekly, short little newsletter of things that's going on. So subscribe to that if you guys would like to. I'm definitely going to be following it to kind of see some of the things that are going on there. But this is definitely an area in our field that we need to really start addressing and kind of building some things around. If only there was a company that did that. I don't know. Shameless plug. Okay, so moving on. What's the next topic I wanted to talk about? At some point, I'm gonna remember to like write notes and actually have a plan when I do these. But where's the fun in that? I love just kind of going off the cuff with you guys and hanging out and talking about things. There was something else I want to talk about before we get to the big topic. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up what I put in the event notes because I wrote it down there. Let's see. Of course, right? How could I forget? The $27 billion news. So Slack has finally found a home. Salesforce announced that they will be acquiring Slack for $27 billion. That's billion with a B. And this to me was, I mean, the rumors had kind of come out earlier in the week. And it made sense for all the things that are out there, right? So Salesforce is in this kind of battle with Microsoft for kind of owning, enterprise communication and collaboration tools and things of that nature. So they needed a nice, um, collaboration platform, and Slack for it's got its lovers, got its haters. I personally love Slack for everything that's baked in there. The ability to quickly, hop in a thread, go back and forth. Even with the Slack calling, right? I was very interested to see that Slack and didn't do more with their collaboration features of being able to screen share, do calls, to be able to draw and stuff. It's so from a collaboration standpoint, it's great, right? And I get it, right? You got Zoom there, who now reigns supreme in this market, right? People just thanks to the pandemic, everybody kind of knows Zoom, and it's like now hop on a Zoom call is now the thing. It used to be WebEx, now it's Zoom, and so that's a big market to kind of go after and get in, right? They wanted to really focus on, what they were doing was the kind of point to point. Point to point messaging, and then just the integrations that they have with the apps, right? And I think that's a beautiful thing that a lot of people love about Slack is, from a dev perspective, is you can integrate it into so many things, get Slack notifications for, Jenkins builds, things of that nature. You can build out integrations to all kind of stuff, right? You can get approvals in Slack for different things. So it was this nice, flexible platform that allowed you to message and communicate with your coworkers, but also kind of plug apps and things into. So you really kind of have like the central focus of where you could work. So it makes sense for Salesforce with that acquisition. And then you look at their last acquisition of Quip, which is kind of like a Google Doc-ish kind of collaborating platform, right? So Salesforce really is just kind of making that push to kind of be that overall enterprise collaboration suite. The biggest thing that really what they're missing is email, right? I still think it's very interesting that at the end of the day, Microsoft always going to have the advantage because of email, right? That's the main thing we look of, for business collaborations is sending emails. And so when you start there, if you can tie everything back to your email, like Microsoft just makes that ecosystem, very nice. And look, Google corporate email has come a long way, and it's contender. But at the end of the day, I think Microsoft just still owns that, right? And they do a great job of once they get that, if you get the email, and then you get Azure AD, and it just goes on and on from there. So very interesting news there coming out of the tech world. Slack getting acquired there for 27 billion. I'm really shocked at that number, given just um, Slack's growth and just their overall time in the market, right? It hasn't been great for them since they went public, right? So it was interesting that they would command such a high price, but I guess when you're Salesforce, and you got the money to spend, you spend it. So um, there we go. Shout out to all the Slack people now, new Salesforce people. Will be interested to see how that continues to evolve and what happens with that. I really don't expect them to do much with it. I think the platform will pretty much stay the same. I think obviously we'll just see a lot more integrations into the Slack platform and more things of that nature. So, or sorry, the Salesforce platform and more things of that nature. So there we go. Now, the big topic of the day. Drum roll, please. You know what? What I miss about using this Restream platform is that I got to find a way to get my effects in there and get you all to hear them. So, shout out to anybody that knows anything about this. I've got my beautiful soundboard here. Of course, I'll do some research over the weekend. You guys know how I am. I like to hack around with stuff, but Big news of the day, right? And I'm gonna pop this up here in this article. Again, I'll post this in the description for the replay so you guys can get it. And you can kind of find it anywhere. You can really just kind of Google Nasdaq once corporate diversity, and it'll pop up. You know, it's New York Times is running it, Wall Street Journal. I grabbed the article from Fast Company, and that's what I'm going to post here. But you know, you can kind of find it where you want it. There you go. Put it out there. So um, let's break down into this, right? So the overall is, you know, Nasdaq wants to require the brands of its companies to become more diverse and has a plan to make that happen. So basically, what they're asking the SEC for is they put a proposal that would allow it to require all businesses it lists on Nasdaq to have a minimum of one person who self-identifies as female and one person who self-identifies as an underrepresented minority or LGBTQ as a board of directors. Companies will be required to publicly disclose board level diversity statistics to prove that they're thinking about diversity when they pick directors. And if they don't have the two, the businesses need to explain why. Now, how quickly the companies would need to comply with the rule if passed depends on its listing tier. According to Nasdaq's 271-page proposal, that is a big proposal. Now, I'm going to do some research to see if I can actually find the proposal. No, I'm not going to read all 271 pages, but I would like to dig into this and see. I mean, 271 pages, this sounds pretty thorough. The timelines range from 1 to 5 years once the SEC approves a requirement. Those that fail to do so won't automatically be delisted if they outline why that's the case. So, and I won't read to you guys the rest of it, but there's some really good information there. So please, you know, kind of check out that article. But I want to dig into this, right? So when I first read this, I was like, look, that's awesome, right? And I agree that we need to get more diversity at higher levels, right? Part of the overall D&I conversation is two things, right? We have to create an environment where people feel like they're safe to come in and they can thrive. So there's one. The other part of it is you actually have to, you know, go and increase your resource pool and be diverse there. And we've had that conversation, right? It's the talent. It's clearly out there. You got to be willing to go look. But on that first point of like having an environment where people feel like they can thrive, look, at the end of the day, representation matters, right? So when you come to a company, to be able to look around and see people that look like you know, at an executive position, at a board position, you know, it kind of subconsciously plants in your mind, like, hey, like this is doable. I can thrive here. I can do things here. I see people who have made it to areas that I, you know, maybe have aspirations to get to, or maybe I don't, but it's just nice to know that there's somebody there that kind of looks like me versus walking into a room and seeing nothing but middle-aged white men, or at this point, you know, older white men. Because I mean, that's just, let's just call a spade a spade. That's what it's been. Um, so I like the fact that they wanted to put effort into it, right? Again, I want to dig into the 271-page proposal, just kind of read, you know, more of the details. What always gets to me is that when we do these things like, hey, you must do this, right? You must hire, you know, one of this or one of that, like check the box, right? That's what immediately comes to mind. Like companies will be like, okay, so what's the penalty? I get delisted from NASDAQ. So I'll check the box. Let me go grab somebody. But we see this in the NFL for those sports fans, right? With the Rooney rule, right? And so what happened is, although it was intended to make sure that more diverse coaches were hired as head coaches, what it became was a check the box. Like, hey, I want to go hire this guy, but let me go grab a minority real quick and do a interview just to say that I interviewed somebody, right? And it just literally became a check the box thing. And I wouldn't want to see that happen at this level, right? To see them say, okay, well, we're just going to go grab a woman or minority, put them on the board so we can check the box and say we did it, right? Again, and of course, there's not much NASDAQ can do. This is about the company and how they, you know, what their culture is and how they accept somebody in. But, you know, if you have that mentality, now you have people on the board who basically have empty seats because they've been brought in, but have they been welcomed? Is their voice heard? Right? Do they feel like they're contributing at this board level? So that's going to be very interesting to see how companies respond to that and what they do to make sure that they're integrating these members, you know, into the board. And then the other part is, you know, just you know, those that fail to do so won't automatically be dismissed if they outline the case why. I'm I'm skeptical on that, right? Like if you're gonna do it, right? If I'm gonna give you an out to say, oh, explain why you couldn't do it, come on now, right? How tough are they gonna be on these explanations? because we've already seen it, right? And we had this, and I'm gonna share this link. I'm hoping uh my good friend Janae has seen this because I really want to get her opinion. Um, we've seen what these CEOs and these executives will say, right? Oh, the talent pool's not there. We tried really hard, but we just couldn't find it. Right? We couldn't find enough people qualified at that level to get. I mean, they're going to hide behind that. I mean, we've seen this time and time again. So to give them a way out to just explain their laziness and lack of wanting to try to avoid, the consequence, I think it's too soft. Now, granted, look, everything's negotiation, right? I would kind of, think of this is kind of like, trying to pass law legislation. At the end of the day, right, you're going to have to beg, borrow, and steal and compromise. It's never usually the bill that you start with. It's the bill that kind of gets, hit at and pulled at and riders and stuff like that to make it appeasable to everybody. And it's probably kind of along the lines of what this is going to go down. But that's one of the things where I would push back about it. Interesting. I'm reading the article. The SEC is accepting public comments about proposed rules via email and online form or snail mail. Interesting. Very interesting. Check that out. Hold on, guys. I'm gonna post this link and I'll put this in the description as well for my people on the replay who aren't live with this. It's very interesting. The SEC takes public comments, so I will definitely be following a public comment. I would hope that you would too, right? Because look, if anything, as much as I just criticize it and I'm not a fan of kind of letting them out. Look, this is a step, right? This is a step in the right direction that people are willing to look at this and say, hey, this is something that we're going to have to make these businesses move it. Because if we leave it up to them, they're not going to do it. Right. If you've been in the enterprise game long enough, we all understand that most things don't happen until there's regulation, right? Right. There's some kind of stick making me do it, right? Or it gets to a point where it's like just truly customer demand. Right. So unfortunately, companies don't do things because it's the right thing to do. Sorry. Those are the facts, right? They do it because it's going to affect their bottom line in a positive way. They do it because if they don't, they may pay a fine or things of that nature, right? So one of the biggest challenges when it comes to anything around diversity and inclusion is we've got to point it to a bottom line. We've got to point it to something that says, look, doing this will increase your ability to get profits. Why? It will make you more diverse. You'll start to look at products from a different aspect, and maybe you will hit a wider target market, because now when you roll this out, you're thinking about different types of users instead of the same type of user you always do. In fact, here I'm going to roll out. There were some stats. I don't know if the stats are in the Fast Company one. They're not, unfortunately. Let me pull up the article from New York Times. They had actually provided some stats on how a diverse board could help. So pulling up the article in New York Times here, let's roll some stats. Over the past 6 months, Nasdaq found that more than 75% of its listed companies did not meet its proposed diversity requirements. 75%. Right now, for those of us who've been in this and have been talking about this does not come as a surprise to any of us, right? Like at the end of the day, it just is what it is. But that's if they get this passed, that's a big deal. 75%. Now, of course, Nasdaq is not going to look to try and remove 75% of their listed. No, of course not. But it's a big number. That's a big number to try and go after. See if they got some stats on. Yeah, I can't find them. I'll have to go back and look for them. But one of the articles had some stats that they put in about how what they found with companies with diverse boards and how much more profitable they were and things of the nature. And look, it's a good stat. Is it truthful? Like, can you really tie it to that? Right? Is it? Can you tie that? Hey, this company had a diverse board, so they made more money because of the board, or because they just they had a really good product in a small market that allowed them to be a leader, right? There's so many kind of fuzzy things about there, but hey, at least again, it's about the fact that we're taking these steps, right? So I don't want to get lost in a negative that we are taking the steps. We are seeing things like this come to the fold where we're forcing companies to take a look and say, look, this has got to be part of your standard operating procedure. This has got to be something that you're considering is making your company more diverse, right? Because, look, the internet changed everything with how we do business, right? From the day you start your global company. Now, you may not actively market in global markets, but The internet's available everywhere. The moment you put up a website, anybody in the world can get to you, right? And so you've got so many countless people that you can reach across the world. And granted, obviously, when you're building out a business plan, when you're focusing, you're going to find your target market and you're going to focus specifically on them. But as you kind of look to expand and get bigger, right? You're a global market. So why not speak to that market? Why not have, the diversity within your company that allows you to speak to that market and move fluently within these markets? Because you've got people that connect to those users. You've got people that understand how business is done in those areas, right? So interesting things to follow. Very, very interested to track and see what's going on. Again, I would encourage you. I'm going to I'm going to post the link here. I will put it also in the description on the replay of this. If you're tracking this and you're saying, hey, I want to, I want to encourage the SEC to take a look at this. Make some public comments. I'll definitely be submitting mine. So I'm going to give you the link right here where you can go and submit your public comments to the SEC. I don't really know the process, honestly. I'm going to look it up. So there's a description there. Again, check the description link for the replay on this one. And yeah, let's continue to push it forward, right? Okay, so that's it, guys. Quick one for tonight. A couple of things I wanted to talk about. Can I give a chance? Announcements. We've got some more interviews coming up. They are in the queue. They're primed up. So I'm going to be kind of super busy over the next couple of days, kind of getting some of these interviews in, getting those recorded and ready to roll. So you will get your normal Wednesday morning drops, for the podcast. I'm still considering whether or not I'm going to roll these lives into the podcast, or I'm just going to have them. You kind of floating there on YouTube. You can kind of go back and replay them. I think that's kind of the best way. But hey, let me know if you're watching this on the replays and things like that. Guys, I'm always reaching out to the C3 squad. You guys are family to me. So let me know what you like, what you don't like, comments, send me emails, all that good stuff. You guys know my socials, get at me. And yeah, for the night, that is it. You guys have a good night. To the next cocktail, to the next conversation. You guys know what it is. Stay safe out there.